Toby sat in his small, cluttered apartment, staring at the message on his phone. His friend had set him up for a blind date with Lola, an affluent woman known for her expensive tastes. Desperate to escape his financial struggles, Toby saw the opportunity as a chance to experience a different lifestyle, even if just for one night. However, the weight of his dwindling bank accounts loomed over him. He couldn't shake the feeling that agreeing to this blind date could spell disaster. Still, with no other prospects on the horizon, he decided to take the risk. The day of the date arrived, and Toby stood before his cracked mirror, rehearsing the perfect, confident smile. He chose the nicest clothes he could afford, trying to match the image he had created for Lola. Though his intentions seemed harmless, Toby knew that the lie he was about to tell could lead to consequences he wasn't ready to face. When Toby arrived at the luxurious restaurant, the setting seemed to overwhelm him. The chandeliers sparkled above, reflecting light onto white linen tablecloths. The other diners wore designer clothes, and the waitstaff moved with a practiced elegance. Lola was already there, sitting gracefully, her aura exuding sophistication. Toby's breath caught in his throat as he approached the table, his facade of confidence barely holding. As they exchanged introductions, Lola's smile put Toby at ease for a moment, but her designer dress and jewelry only reminded him of the lie he was living. Toby ordered an expensive dish without blinking, playing the part of someone comfortable in this opulent world. However, a shadow of doubt lingered in his eyes, a hint of the turmoil within. He was treading dangerous waters, and he knew it. The conversation flowed easily between Toby and Lola, yet he couldn't escape the feeling that there was something more beneath her polished exterior. Lola listened intently as Toby fabricated stories of his successful career and extravagant vacations. Her eyes, though warm, seemed to pierce through him, almost as if she could see the cracks in his carefully constructed persona. Lola responded with stories of her own life, weekends in Paris, shopping sprees, and lavish parties. But her voice carried a tinge of melancholy, and her gaze often wandered as if she was searching for something more. Toby couldn't tell whether she was truly buying into his charade or playing a game of her own. There was something about her that left him unsettled, as if she, too, were hiding secrets. After dinner, Lola insisted on going shopping. Toby's stomach twisted into knots as they walked through the doors of an upscale boutique. Designer shoes, handbags, and clothes surrounded him, each piece with a price tag that could pay his rent for months. Lola playfully handed him a blazer to try on, and he forced a smile, feeling the walls close in around him. The salespeople eyed him with skepticism, clearly attuned to the facade he was presenting. As Toby swiped his credit card for an item, he held his breath, praying the transaction would go through. The machine beeped and a receipt printed. Relief washed over him, but the danger of exposure still lurked. Lola seemed none the wiser, but Toby's chest tightened. He was only digging himself deeper into a hole that could collapse at any moment. Later that night, Lola suggested they continue their evening at an upscale nightclub. Toby's heart pounded as they entered the exclusive venue, the pulsating music and dim lights doing little to ease his anxiety. Lola seemed at ease, waving at acquaintances and ordering drinks without hesitation. Toby's sense of unease deepened. Everything about the night felt surreal, like he was part of someone else's life. As the night went on, Toby's fear of exposure began to consume him. He could feel his wallet growing lighter with each passing moment, and his credit card's limits creeping dangerously close. Yet, When Lola looked at him with a genuine smile, he found himself wanting to believe that he could belong in her world. But deep down, he knew that the truth was bound to surface soon. And when it did, it could shatter everything. When it came time to pay for their drinks, Toby handed his card to the bartender with a shaky hand. He tried to appear calm, but his heart felt as though it might burst out of his chest. The bartender swiped the card, and Toby held his breath. The words "declined" flashed on the screen, and Toby's stomach dropped. Panic set in as the bartender gave him a cold stare, waiting for an explanation. Lola watched the scene unfold, her expression unreadable. Toby could feel his carefully constructed illusion crumbling before him. He fumbled for words, trying to explain, but nothing seemed right. He expected Lola to react with disdain, to leave him humiliated in front of everyone. Instead, she placed a gentle hand on his arm and, with a calm voice, offered to take care of the bill. The tension in the room shifted, and Toby was left wondering just who Lola really was. Outside the club, the air was cool, but Toby felt the heat of shame burning within him. He couldn't meet Lola's eyes as they stood by the curb. "I'm sorry," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. He confessed to lying about his financial situation, about trying to impress her with a lifestyle that wasn't his. He braced himself for her to walk away, for the disgust he was sure she must feel. To his surprise, Lola didn't walk away. Instead, she sighed, her eyes softening. She admitted that she was tired of superficial relationships, of people trying to impress her with money and status. She revealed that she had agreed to the blind date hoping to find someone genuine, someone who saw beyond her wealth. Toby looked at her, truly seeing her for the first time, and realized that they both had been pretending in different ways. With the truth out in the open, the dynamic between Toby and Lola shifted. They walked together through the quiet streets, no longer burdened by pretense. Toby spoke openly about his struggles, his student loans, his part-time job that barely paid the bills, and the pressure he felt to prove himself. Lola listened, her expression filled with empathy rather than pity. In return, Lola shared her own experiences of isolation. Despite her wealth, she often felt like people only saw her for her money, not for who she truly was. She confessed how exhausting it was to constantly be surrounded by people who wanted something from her. Toby realized that despite their differences, they both carried their own burdens, and for the first time that night, he felt a true connection with her. As Toby and Lola continued to see each other, they faced new challenges. Toby struggled with the judgmental stares of Lola's affluent friends, who saw him as an outsider. He felt the pressure to prove himself, not just to Lola, but to the people around her. Meanwhile, Lola faced criticism from her family, who couldn't understand why she would be interested in someone without status or wealth. The tension reached a breaking point at a high society event where Toby felt completely out of place. He overheard people talking about him, questioning his worthiness of Lola. The doubts he had tried to suppress resurfaced, and he wondered if he was truly enough for her. Lola, sensing his unease, took his hand and led him away from the crowd. She reassured him that she valued him for who he was, not for his bank account or social standing. Just as things seemed to be settling down, a shocking twist changed everything. Lola revealed that her family's wealth was not as secure as it seemed. Her father's business was on the verge of collapse, and she had been hiding her own financial struggles. The affluent lifestyle she had portrayed was a facade, much like Toby's initial attempt to impress her. Toby was stunned. The very thing that had intimidated him about Lola wasn't real. The revelation brought them even closer. They both realized that they had been hiding parts of themselves out of fear. Fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. With the truth out, they faced their challenges together, no longer burdened by the weight of deception. It was a humbling experience for both of them, but it also laid the foundation for a relationship built on honesty and mutual support. With all the secrets out in the open, Toby and Lola decided to start anew. They no longer felt the need to impress each other or the world around them. They focused on the simple things, enjoying each other's company, supporting one another through their struggles, and finding joy in the little moments. Toby no longer worried about being able to afford lavish dates. Instead, they spent time at the park, shared homemade meals, and talked about their dreams. The challenges they had faced together had strengthened their bond. Toby realized that the true value of their relationship lay in their genuine connection, not in wealth or appearances. Lola too found comfort in Toby's sincerity and determination. As they sat together on a park bench watching the sunset, they knew that their journey was just beginning. They had both learned that love wasn't about what you could offer in terms of material wealth, but about being there for each other, no matter what.